Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I am the operations manager with Tech Louisville and our sister program, Code Louisville. And we're very excited to have you all here tonight. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We all have you muted as you come into the room, except for our panelists and other staff members. If you have any questions for any of our panelists, please use the chat feature down at the bottom of your screen. You can put any questions in. We will have a chance to get those asked at the end. I'll read off the questions and that people have put in chat. And if there's anything else that you'd like to know or any, if you need more details or anything like that, just let us know. Kind of hosting tonight for us is Angella Wilson. And Angella is, excuse me, very sorry. She's the Senior Program Director for Adult Career Services with KentuckianaWorks, which is the region's workforce development board. And with federal, state, and local funding, she's responsible for developing and managing and maintaining workforce development strategies and partnerships that impact adult job seekers and employers. And she served as the adjunct professor teaching how to achieve academic success at Jefferson Community and Technical College. She has her master's degree in business administration from the University of Phoenix and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Kentucky State University. She's a graduate of the Ignite Louisville Leadership Program, and in 2020, she earned a certified professional resume writer credential. As a Kentucky transplant, Angella meaningfully contributes to her adopted home by serving on the executive board of the Kentucky to the World organization. She served on the Louisville Girls Leadership National Association of Women MBAs and Prospicana's Diversity and Black Achievers Program for 8 years. She's a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. and was named a Louisville Business First 40 Under 40 in 2017 and is featured in today's Women's Magazine in July 2019. So thank you so much for being here and being part of our program, Angella. And I will hand things over to you.
Well, thank you for that. That was so nice. I sound very impressive. No, just kidding.
And you are definitely impressive, and we are great to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Brian, my colleague, for asking me to help guide the conversation today. I have been fortunate with my time at KentuckianaWorks to lead several conversations around African Americans, people of color in a variety of different fields. So super excited to talk with some fellow African Americans that are working in the tech field. So let's get started. I'll love each of the panelists to introduce themselves. I would like to first start off with Jade, and then Tina, and then last but not least, Will give a high-level introduction about themselves. Jade.
All right, can y'all hear me okay? Okay, I'm a little nervous, y'all, so bear with me. But my name is Jade Brown, and I graduated from the University of Louisville about a year ago. I was a double major in accounting and computer information systems, so I'm about all things business. As far as my technology background, I have experience in some Fortune 50 companies, Fortune 500 companies. And my goal in life, my purpose in life is really just to uplift people, especially our brown and Black people, and show them that, you know, it's people out here that are following their dreams, so you can too. I currently work for the Microsoft Future of Work Initiative, where we focus on upskilling people in data analytics, as well as connecting people to data analytics jobs. So yes, I do a lot of different things. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and yeah, I'm excited to be here. So I'll pass it on.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Tina Judkins. Currently, I'm pursuing my associate's degree in computer information technology at our local community college, JCTC. It's part of the Bit 502 program, which is an initiative to help people get their first roles in tech. And I found that out through taking classes with Code Louisville. Outside of that, I have an associate's degree in graphics design, which one of the ways I got into tech, but we'll talk about that later. I have an 11-year-old that takes up a lot of my time, and I like to mentor younger girls coming up who wants to get into technology, because the earlier you start, the better. And I'm just happy to be here tonight. So thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, my name is William Lancaster. I am a system administrator for a company based out of Hanover, Maryland, that offers engineering services. So we do mainly mechanical engineering here in Louisville, but we do all kind of engineering projects for companies all over the world. So we design and build anything you can think of. Cars, conveyor systems is what we do here in Louisville. So we build the factories for FedEx and UPS and Amazon. We design those and help them deploy and set up those factories that get you your packages is what we do here in Louisville. But like I say, the company's broad, and we do a lot of engineering services. And I handle the IT. So I handle the IT here in Louisville for our center and support about 13 other locations around North America. And my background is I actually went to Murray State for 2 years. I didn't finish school. My mom called me and she said, I need you home and working. So I had to come home. And then I actually, when I came home, did something similar to this, where I jumped on a panel that I was surprised to be invited on, and from Central High School. So my computer technology magnet instructor there invited me to be on a panel, and I met a local entrepreneur and business owner that owns a company called Argo Networks here in Louisville, and joined that company and started working my way up through IT, and that's where I am today. So yeah, glad to be here and share my experience and background and answer any questions you all have.
Wonderful. Thank you, William. So you actually, you actually are jumping us right to our first question. So I truly appreciate that. So according to local labor market data, only about 8% of all tech workers are Black or African American. Now, to put that in context, Louisville has a population of about 23% of Black or African Americans. So knowing that we are underrepresented in the group in this field, what got you interested in the tech industry? So we heard a little bit about Will. Jade, do you want to talk a little bit about what sparked your interest to move into this field?
Yeah, so to be honest, I feel like I kind of tricked myself into getting into technology. So I actually picked up a minor at the University of Louisville in computer information systems, thinking that it was graphic design, which those are two totally different professions. But it's crazy because when I actually got into my first CIS class, I was like, wow, this is actually a little similar to graphic design. It's just a little more technical. So I would say it was me just kind of falling into it. And then also I started working an internship at Humana around that same time, and I was in the IT finance department. So I realized there were some people walking around that had some lenient schedules. There were some people walking around who were making a little more money than me. So I was like, hold on, what they doing over there? So a lot of it came from me just like reaching out to people, taking that initiative, and also noticing that, it's not a lot of us in this field, because at Humana, a lot of the people there, they were either white men or Indian men. So I was just kind of like, how can I make things a little different, spice it up a little bit? So, yeah.
Tina, do you want to tell us your story?
Sure. I really got into tech when I was getting my graphics design degree at Sullivan Tech. We had to take 3 web design classes. And at first I thought that in order to do anything with the internet or design anything with websites, you had to go to like an MIT or something like that. So to see that you can take things like HTML and CSS and create a static web page just got me hooked. And then the more I looked into it, I started to learn about JavaScript. And then fast forward to that, that's when I realized that Code Louisville was hosting classes to where you could learn how to write code. And I wanted to switch into something different other than working on the assembly line. And so I just started to continue to skill myself up and continue to work on small projects. And everything just led to my next step. Like for the past year, I've been a part of a cohort learning mobile app development using Android platform. And had I not went to graphic design or had I not taken those classes through Code Louisville, I probably wouldn't have went for it because I didn't think I would have been skilled enough for it. So just taking chances and just always loving technology and computers and stuff like that is what got me hooked and looking for a better career path.
Wonderful. Will, anything else to add to how you got involved into tech?
Yeah, I think a lot of people get in because of video games as a kid, and I think it was similar for me. My Xbox isn't working, so I'm taking it apart and trying to put it back together. And honestly, I think one of the biggest things that pushed me into actually thinking I could do it professionally was I went to Central High School and they had a magnet program, so it kind of introduced me to it in a more formal way. So once I got there and was able to like study for certain certifications or actually take those like the A+ or the Network Plus and things like that, I was kind of like, okay, I could actually see myself doing this. So Central has had that program there for me to kind of introduced it to me formally, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And that I also built a really good relationship with the instructor there. So it was kind of a, this is fun. I like the instructor, and I got to do some cool stuff along the way. So that was kind of what ultimately pushed me into it professionally. But honestly, it was, like I say, most people just taking apart video games and little things here and there.
Okay. Wonderful. And in the chat, you have a fellow Yellow Jacket that's supporting you on.
I love Central. It's a good great place to spend your high school years. I love it down there.
Absolutely. All right. So now we talked a little bit about what got you interested. We'd like to share and hear about you sharing your journey about how you got your first job. What was that process like about getting your first job in tech? Jade?
So I'm trying to think. So in my last answer, I touched on it a little bit, but so I actually got on at Humana through the SummerWorks program. So keep in mind, I'm a new tech professional. So I was in SummerWorks maybe like 2 or 3 summers ago, and I came on at Humana at first in their technology department. Then I transferred to IT finance, and I went back to technology. So really through SummerWorks, that's how I got my first technology job, because throughout all of those different positions, I was an intern. So, luckily as an intern, you aren't too committed to a role. They really want to put you somewhere where you enjoy your work. So I actually ended up I was in IT finance. Then I went to a role where my main role was data analytics, and I just fell in love with Power BI. It was like, it allowed me to not only use my graphic design skills, but also my technology skills. So from there, I actually have a pretty close relationship with my current boss at Future Work Initiative. So she actually just kind of called me up one day and was like, "You want to come work for me?" So I'm like, "Yeah, for sure." So just another thing, a little tidbit of advice when it comes to the technology field, especially in Louisville. The Louisville network of technology professionals is very close-knit and very almost small. So, just stay connected with as many people as you can. But yeah, that's how I got my first job in technology.
Wonderful. Thank you. Definitely love to hear how SummerWorks played a part with you on this career path. So, Tina?
I got my first like actual role through the Bid 502 program. I had already was working with GE Appliances on the assembly line, and they were one of the sponsoring companies. So once they saw that I applied, it was like they wanted me. And so they just transitioned me into that role. And I started last July. So my first rotations was with the factory information systems, where I would set up PLCs, do network jobs and things like that. And currently I'm on the security team. And my first project with that was setting up the VPNs or updating the VPNs for everybody's laptops, which I thought was pretty cool. And I like the fact that it is a rotational program because you can see exactly what you want to do, which is important. And it gives me a chance to network with people at the company so that if a full-time offer does come, they'll already know who I am and they'll already want to know that I'm a good team player and want to work with me. So anytime you have a chance to network, whether you already work for a company or you want to be going into a company, just take that opportunity to network and start talking to people because you never know what opportunities they may have. So that's how I got my first role.
Excellent advice, right? Networking is not just for when you are looking to move into another company, right? You just said you have to network within your company. So you need to network everywhere you go, make connections. Will?
For me, it was also SummerWorks. I actually was able to. I was part of the. So when you go through the magnet program at Central, they allow you to do some help desk kind of work for the other teachers in the building, and I did that. But they saw that I was pretty good at it and had a knack for fixing stuff. So they asked me if I would be part of the SummerWorks program that went around to some of the labs in Jefferson County and refresh the computer labs in the schools. So that was my first job that I had. But as I mentioned before, the actual real, on my own going after a job was because when I came back home from college and did that panel, I met, like I said, a local business technology. He's one of the coolest guys, and like I say, networking is definitely one of the best things is because I met him, built a really good relationship with him, and he offered me a job pretty much on the spot and he owned a network consulting company here in Louisville and offered me a job. So kind of made the jump right into some real IT hands-on stuff as soon as I got back. So it was kind of my first job, and I got a really good position with a really good company.
Wonderful. And so Jade, Tina, and Will, you guys are all in different roles within your respective organizations. Could you tell us a little bit about what your day looks like? What do you do in a day?
So I'll
go ahead, Jade.
Okay. So I do a lot of different things. So I usually check my email first. Then so one of my roles is we have a data boss program at the Future of Work Initiative. So a lot of that is helping people get their portfolios together for their data roles. Like these are new data professionals. So a lot of what I do is mentoring those up and coming professionals. I also do graphic design for Future of Work. So anything from updating the website to making different graphics, creating ads, things like that. And I also do a little bit of actual data analytics work. So a lot of the time when you work in the nonprofit sector, you have outcomes to report. You have people who are interested in, okay, we are, giving y'all this money. So how is the money benefiting the community? So a lot of what I do is also creating reports, creating dashboards to show stakeholders, where their money's going to. I do a little bit of project management. I do a lot of different things. I'm the type of person, I cannot sit down at the computer every day, 9 to 5, and just sit there. So yeah, I have my hands in a lot of different pots. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
It does sound like you keep, like you said, you keep your hands in a lot of different things at work. So it could vary.
Yeah, and one thing also with technology, a lot of the time, I'm sure a lot of you all on this call have seen, there's a lot of different certificate programs out here. So the good thing about technology is that you don't have to have a degree in UI UX design. You don't have to have a degree in data analytics. So, it's easy to pick up these different skills and apply them to your job, which is exactly what I did. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Tina, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, similar to Jade, I wore a bunch of different hats. First thing in the morning, I check my email, I check Microsoft Teams, I check my calendar. And normally the first half of the morning are all meetings until like 11 o'clock. And then after that, I take some reflection time. We have time to skill up ourselves where you can study, work on a certification. If I'm working on a project, a little bit of project management, I'll do my documentation and making sure that everything is going smoothly with the project. Or if I have any questions, I have to reach out to another member on the team, I'll do that. Last rotation, when I was part of the factory information systems, I would have to go out onto the floor and check the machines to see if they're up and running, or meet with vendors to see when we will be able to get the PLCs delivered and things of that nature. So it's different. Day to day is different. We go back into the office tomorrow, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be a whole new set of things to do. So it changes from day to day.
Okay, wonderful. I love how you said that there's reflection time. Is that something you set up personally, or is that like a culture that takes place at GE where everyone has a little bit of reflection time?
It's a little bit of both. They recommend it, and you just set it up on your calendar. They don't want to they just want to make sure you're not getting burnt out or too overwhelmed, especially with everything that's been going on the past couple of years. So it's just that time, especially if you have like a morning where there's meetings every hour there's a meeting, maybe 5 minutes in between. They just want to make sure you take a breather, walk away, and just have that reflection time.
I love that. I love that. I'm gonna see if I can get that implemented with where I work. Will?
So for me, my days never are the same. I don't get any reflection time, honestly, but I jump around. So it's my role is instead of just information systems, my team is called the infrastructure support group. So we literally manage everything, whether it's property, assets, compliance, and pretty much everything from that you can touch in the building. So we, one day I may be working with the property manager, one day I might be ordering servers, or working with another team to order 200 laptops. So it all depends on what projects we're onboarding. So my role and job is to kind of take those from start to finish. So it just depends on where the project pipeline is. So I go in and pretty much pick them up and move them as much as I can in a day. So whether that, like I say, it's procuring equipment or moving equipment or setting up new technologies, that's kind of what I do day to day. And like I say, it's ever changing.
Okay. So I'm definitely hearing flexibility needs to be in someone's predictive index when they're thinking about moving into this field, because you just never know. So I'm going to ask this question, and then whether Jay, Tina, or Will, whoever wants to jump in first, what challenges or barriers have you faced in your tech career?
One that comes off the top of my head immediately is sometimes just finding people to be comfortable with, because because of the fact that there are not that many Black and brown faces in tech, it's a little hard to feel confident and taking the initiative and reaching out to people. I mean, I try to push through, but it's definitely a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
For me, it was just like feeling like I wasn't educated enough because a lot of people on my team were just there, have bachelor's and master's degree. So just being comfortable with myself and knowing that I'm supposed to be here and I deserve to be here and that I do have the skill set and that I'm continuing to work my way up. So that has been the biggest thing. And outside of that is just the microaggressions that sometimes people know and unknowingly do. But other than those two things, I really can't think of anything else at the moment.
Those are two big things, right? So what you mentioned earlier could also be known as imposter syndrome. That I know that's it's something that I encounter and that I have to work through. And so to Jay's point, when you find someone that's has similar shared experiences with you, those are conversations that you can have and build on that support. But definitely imposter syndrome is it's true. And I loved how you said, but then I know that I belong here, right? You were hired for a reason. Will?
For me, I'll say this, and it might sound like it's not a not a hurdle, but it's for me the thing that kind of I struggle with in my career was just kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I had a lot of options when I took that first role. I stayed there for 4 years, and then when I left there, I could have went in a lot of different directions. So I didn't know whether I wanted to be a networking guy. So I jumped on a network cabling job where I was literally, at Kroger's on top of refrigerators putting in network cables. And then I jumped to another company where I was in a van every day driving around putting security cameras up in gas stations. So, I didn't know if I wanted to be that kind of grunt worker and do the, hardcore IT. It was some upside to that, or if I wanted to jump and do more what I do now, which is kind of like a project management, business focus / a little bit of technical. So it was kind of hard figuring out what I wanted to do. But some people look at that and say, I got to touch everything and figure out what I wanted to do. So for me, that was hard at first because I was like, man, if I was doing this 4 years ago, I'd be in a good spot. But again, I feel I am at a good spot and I love what I do. So I was able to figure out what I liked and move in that direction ultimately.
Great, thank you. No, I don't want to, well, I was going to say no one gets it right the first time. It's not like you were doing it wrong, but I think you just have to try a lot of different things to figure out what fits. And so it was actually just touched on. It is said that racism in tech tends not to be overt, but more of a systematic issue. Can you speak on how you have experienced or observed any systematic racism? I think we talked a little bit, someone mentioned a little bit of microaggression. That's definitely could be a form of, right? Something that someone has to deal with and kind of overcome. Is there anything else that you may have seen?
What I mostly dealt with it's just like the microaggressions or them feeling like you shouldn't be there for whatever reason, even though they just got there in some cases. So having to deal with that, having a tough skin, and that's when just knowing who you are and knowing what you want and knowing your why comes into play. So, but at the moment, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I would also say, just to kind of piggyback off of that, a lot of the time, especially being a woman, men tend to, if you take a little second to think about something, people think you don't know what you're talking about. So, a lot of the time men will, I'm not going to say a lot of the time, but in certain circumstances, men will try to jump in and be like, okay, what she really means is, and it's like, no, I just need a little second to gather my thoughts. So it's things like that where, people aren't doing it intentionally, but it does happen. It definitely does happen. And like Tina said, you just got to have tough skin and be like, oh, no, hold on, wait a minute. Let me finish my thoughts. So yeah, things like that definitely, they come up, but as long as it's, I think once you do start speaking up for yourself, that's when people realize, okay, like she does know what she's talking about. It's just going to take a little second for her to get it together.
So I would say to Tina, when you said it's about really understanding who you are and understanding your why. For me, although I'm not in a tech space, I'm in another space, right? Like these situations happen just throughout your career. I was able to solidify who I was and walk confidently and authentically once I graduated from my HBCU, right? For me, that experience was everything that I needed to prove that I was not an imposter, right? Just as capable and was ready to walk and conquer whatever job or opportunity I wanted. So I think people find different ways to recognize who they are, and it's important to find places where you can be as authentic as you possibly can. Will, did you want to add anything?
I'll say, I think for me, it was more, I was, as a field technician, in some of these roles, you're going out and working on projects with guys that, you kind of clicky. It's kind of, you show up and I'm the black guy, all these, guys that know each other and been here, and you could kind of feel and see that, I show up as the new guy and there's another guy that shows up and they give a little more attention to him and show him things that they don't show me. So, that was something I experienced on different roles. It was like kind of, okay, that's kind of weird, but overcame that, had to figure out, I'm gonna learn this anyway. I'm gonna do it my way and try to figure out a way to do it better, and that I'm doing my job well. So I saw that a few times throughout my career, and like I say, just overcoming that by working real hard and studying on the side and just bettering myself, because it's not something I can really control, but something I've got to kind of, I don't want to say learn to live with, but kind of learn to navigate while I want to, do well in my role and advance. But you do notice it and see it, and I'm not the manager, so I don't control it and can't do anything about it. But I do, want to do what I can and what I personally control. So that was something I experienced in how I dealt with it in some of these more field related roles. I'll say that one thing I do, I don't have a degree, so I do go into rooms, and being without a degree, I felt like I was maybe less than or things like that. But that's just kind of the journey. But again, I feel like just upskilling yourself and being confident in your abilities is kind of the key in both of those situations.
Absolutely. And what you said, Will, really hits home. It took me a long time to figure out, but I can only control how I act, how I respond, right? And so it took a lot of professional development courses for me to master that. And then, but once you realize that, it helps you to not, you said to live with it, but to be able to move forward, right? To operate in spite of, right? Because I can control how I act and behave. So, all right. So we talked a little bit about how individuals, well, we talked about your experience of how you got into the field. Let's talk a little bit about staying power and retention. I believe earlier one of you talked about mentors. So can you speak on how you have interacted with mentors throughout your career?
So when I worked at Humana, they actually, I feel like they had a mentor program where they actually set you up with a mentor in the internship. So with that, we would meet like once a month. and talk about different things like resumes. It was like an actual program where we were told what to talk about each time and things like that. But to be honest, I think some of the mentorships that really stuck with me were the ones where the relationship developed organically. So I might just be in an event and we meet each other, then, you know, we just naturally check in on each other every once in a while. I'm sorry, what was the question? Was it?
You are answering it perfectly. It's about mentorships and what type of relationship you've had with mentors.
Okay, well, yeah. That because a lot of the time also with mentors, like Alicia, for example, she was one of my mentors, and you know, they'll connect you with different opportunities because a lot of the time your mentor, they're gonna be like 10 years further in the field than you are, 20 years, whatever. So a lot of the time they're a lot more connected than you might be. So, you know, they can give you plenty of advice, but they can also connect you to different opportunities. So yeah.
GE, once we started with the Bit 502 program, we got a mentor that's going to be with us the whole way of the program. And Louisville mentors, I took advantage of them. In the mobile application program that I'm a part of, they give us mentors also. So I just ask questions, pick their brain, learn from them as much as possible. I've done mock interviews with them. I've let them look up my resume to see anything I can improve on. So mentors are great. And the earlier you can get one in your career, the better, I feel like.
Yeah, for me, I've definitely, I feel like when you get to a company, like Jay said, it's kind of, you organically kind of gravitate to some people sometimes you don't. But in various roles in different companies, I've been able to pick up a few mentors that, have been with me throughout my career. Luckily, I've more recently been able to kind of settle down, and I'm actually, I didn't get my degree, but was able to get back into school. So I'm at Bellarmine now, and I was able to meet somebody there that's kind of been a mentor. And I'm like 10 years in, I feel comfortable, feel like I'm kind of seasoned, and then get to Bellarmine and meet somebody that's got 30 years under their belt and's got tons to teach me. So you always meet somebody that's got, a little trick that you don't know, or just some experience that you don't have, and they always can add value. And that's kind of one of the biggest skills in IT is always being open to advice, just listening and absorbing as much as you can, because it's, like I say, experiencing things as much as you can, and then picking the path and focusing on that can take you a long way. So I feel like that's kind of my motto, and what I stick to is experience, whether that's from mentors or just job experience or whatever else. It just kind of leads to an expansion, whether it's in your career, personal life, or any other way.
Wonderful. So I've heard, had an opportunity to work with employers or groups that had mentorships built in, as well as organically finding mentors. All right, so as we're nearing the end of this portion, two more questions. The first one is, what advice, after everything we just talked about, what advice would you provide another person of color who's interested in moving into the tech industry? What advice would you give them? Would it be like that, hey girl, let's sit down, let's have a real conversation? What would that conversation be like?
So I would definitely, I think earlier Will had mentioned this. He said to stay upskilled. So, keep getting your certifications, keep doing what you have to do to stay in the know about technology. And also it was one other thing that he had said, but my main things would be to stay in the know and also stay connected. Because what's that saying? It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is so relevant when it comes to different opportunities. But you also need to have the resume to back it up. So yeah, that's just general. But when it comes to being African American in the tech industry, I would just say for me personally, a lot of it has to do with me knowing other people in the industry who are African American too. So, going to things like this, meeting other people in the community that look like you, who are doing the same things as you, that is key, having that support system.
I'll definitely agree with Jade on having a support system or going to different networking events. Even if it's not just predominantly Black, just go to those network events, because you never know who you're going to meet, and that's going to help you along your way to just build up whatever you want to build up in the tech industry. I would say work on personal projects. I would say starting out, don't get too attached to one language, because you'll never know. Like, you can be hired on as a front end developer and they'll have you doing back end work, or have you looking at a language that you've never looked at before. So just be open to change. And what else would I say? Mostly those two things: be open to change and always be going to networking events.
For me, 100%, the thing I think is most important, you don't have to have, and I'm just saying this from my experience, you don't have to have all the tech skills. You don't have to think, okay, I got to learn this, that, and other. I said upskill, definitely upskill because you're interested in it and curious about it. Always be curious. But the biggest thing for me is, I think focusing on soft skills trumps having the tech skills. If you know how to talk to people, be in a room with somebody, have a good conversation, and, follow up and do things that you say you're going to do, and just kind of be a good person to be around, that'll take you farther than any tech skills. Companies are willing to train you, put resources behind you, and it's infinite resources out there to learn anything you want to. And you can self-teach, you can do it formally through education. It's tons of ways to learn. But if you've got those soft skills, those are some things that you don't just pick up, by day. So like they say, go to networking events just to get you out of your comfort zone. You'll never probably be fully comfortable. I'm nervous on this call talking right now, but if you put yourself in those situations where you have to talk and have to interact with people, it just becomes a natural thing that you got to do, and you get better at it day by day.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, this is the last question I want to ask for this segment. What resources would you recommend to people interested in working in the tech industry? Like resources as far as do you have a favorite podcast? Are there some really cool people to follow you that you follow on Twitter? Is there like certain articles you like?
There's a few YouTubers that I like. Some are women, some are people of color. So just find somebody on YouTube that you like to watch and follow their journey. I like to read a lot of Medium articles as well on tech, and just staying in the know and up to breast with everything in tech. Subscribe to Afrotech because they have a lot of good information. But other than those resources, I don't really have anything else.
For me, if I was just throwing some things out there, I agree. YouTube's a great resource. There's some people I follow on there. That if you're, not sure what you want to do and just entry level looking for a way in, there's a guy named Network Chuck that kind of gives you a broad entry level grasp of kind of some help desk all the way up to whatever you can think of, whether it's network engineering, cloud jobs, or things like that. Other resources is, I think Google's probably, as far as the FANG or the big companies, they're probably the ones that I say puts the most free resources out there, where you can just go jump on and follow a track, whether it's their like for the Tech Louisville, we went through the IT fundamentals course, and it was pretty thorough and good at giving you a good foundation in IT, and just some of those things that you have to piece together yourself. I think they bring it together in a nice package. And then they also have things on data analytics, programming, and all kinds of stuff. And I feel like they just put a lot of effort into packaging it up real nice. So if you're interested in learning anything in particular, and you have your eye on something, using one of their courses, and I think it is hosted on Coursera, but I think they have it on their primary website and you can get it there. But Coursera is a really good resource. Udemy is another platform that I like a lot because they give you kind of a crash course on any topic you can think of in IT. And then LinkedIn's done a good job too. So LinkedIn has a learning platform. It costs, but it has some good material out there. If you want to learn anything in particular, just grab a course from there. And LinkedIn as a platform is great too, just for networking and kind of all the career stuff. But I would suggest checking those out.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I would also say YouTube, LinkedIn Learning, as well as just staying connected with different organizations like Tech Louisville, Future of Work Initiative, because a lot of the time they are always pushing out new technology courses, new technology events, things like that in Louisville.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Tina, Jade, and Will. This was an excellent conversation, and I truly appreciate your time. Now I'm going to kick it back over to Emily.
Thank you so very much. This has been a great conversation. If anyone has any questions, please put them in chat for us to ask the panelists. We've had a couple of them. Someone wanted to go back to the reflection time that they were mentioning earlier and said, reflection time seems like it should help team members be more strategic in their actions. Have you found this to be true? So I believe it was Tina who was talking about reflection time. Could you talk a little bit more about that? What's it look like on a daily basis, those sort of things?
I think it helps because anytime you're stuck on something and you walk away and come back with just like a fresh mindset or a fresh pair of eyes, you can normally figure out the problem a little bit better. So that reflection time really does just help, keeps everybody mood at a mellow pace and just help you whatever you're working on.
Great, thanks. And Will, Jade, do either of you use reflection in just your day-to-day, whether it's professional or personal? And do you think that helped you be more strategic?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. A lot of the time, not even just in technology, but in any field, after you finish a project, it's good to reflect on what went well, what needed improvement, things like that, so you can, continue to just better the organization, better your projects moving forward.
I would say I don't actually set aside a time to like do an intentional reflection, but I do make sure that every once in a while I block off a chunk of time where I can catch up and catch my breath on things that I'm either behind on or just want to put more effort into. So it's good to do that where you can just take a pause, catch up, and not feel like you're overwhelmed with what you got going on, whether that's just jotting down some notes so that you're more organized when you jump back in, or just taking a pause because you've been going nonstop or full bore for a while. So I definitely take half a day and say, okay, I need to catch up, I need to focus on this project or this specific thing, and then go at it, or just take my time on something that or various things that I've got going on. So definitely don't want to burn yourself out. So I would suggest doing that if you once you get in a role, and if you're in a role, you should always take some time just for yourself to kind of mellow out and catch your breath.
Yeah. One of my tips that I would give as a career coach before I became operations manager is using reflection on like a larger scale, like end of the month. Look back at all the things that you've accomplished and just write those down, because it's so easy to forget. I did this, then I did this, then I did this, and you forget about those things that you did finish. But those are great things for when it's time for you to update your resume or to go for a promotion or a raise at work, or even just to keep track on those days as when you're having that imposter syndrome and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm terrible at this. You can look back and say, no, I actually can do a lot of things even if I'm struggling today. So that's a great thing, whether it's, short term, long term, whatever, just reflection is always a great thing. Another question we have is, what are some good platforms to get started networking? Anyone have any particular favorites?
I like Meetup and LinkedIn. People post a lot on LinkedIn and Meetup. You can go through and find out what works for you, what works for your schedule, if it's in person or remote, and sign up for it. And a lot of times you can just sign up to have reoccurring. If they have something reoccurring every month or a few times out of the year, you always get notified for it. So Meetup and LinkedIn.
For me, I've recently been joining a lot of Discord groups. They've got a lot of Discord groups around specific things you're interested in. So I'm self-teaching my cloud at the moment. So I'm trying to learn one of the cloud platforms, and I've joined a group that's focused on that. And I, tinker with programming. So I've joined groups around that. And, literally almost anything you can think of, they've got a group or Discord group that's somewhat moderated and curated. And it usually has resources from beginner to intermediate. And I just think if you find somebody like a leader in the space, then they typically have some kind of Discord group, some kind of Slack channel, even where you can join and be with other peers or like-minded people that are kind of pursuing the same goals. So Discord is a good one, and Slack does. You'll have to actually find the people offering it, but if you find that, like I say, that leader in the space, then they usually have one of those available to you.
I would also say, whatever your education program is, if you went through a university, a lot of the time there are resources that colleges have specifically for people that went to that school. So yeah, that. And then also, if you didn't go to a university and you went through some type of certificate program or some type of cohort or something like that, a lot of the time people in those groups tend to share information amongst each other because, y'all are all trying to reach the same goal.
And so I will add, for those that immediately want to get their feet wet, there's actually a networking event. It is called Black Professionals Mixer, and it is happening actually tomorrow night at the Black Jockey Lounge. It starts at 5:30. This is about the third or fourth installment, and it is put on by Nikki Lanier. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but prominent African-American in our community who is really focused on making sure that we as a group have a chance to network with each other, have conversations about shared experiences. So that is actually taking place tomorrow at the Black Jockey Lounge on 4th Street, tomorrow at 5:30. And it's free.
Excellent, wonderful. Free, definitely.
Is there like a like that?
I'm sorry?
Is there a link to that event, or is it like posted anywhere or anything?
So she shares it a lot on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But I also get email notifications as well. So I don't know how, Emily, maybe the people that registered, if you want to, if we're able to kind of get that out. It's free. Technically, you need to register, but you don't have to. The registration is really just for some type of a head count, but it's a wonderful event and the weather's going to be nice. So
we'll be happy to send out that information.
okay.
There is also going to be a networking event with Future of Work Initiative on Thursday, and that is in person. They're going to have appetizers as well as a photographer there for free professional headshots for anyone who needs it. And we will include the information for that in the follow-up email as well. So love that these events are starting to come back in person. It always seems a lot nicer to actually go meet people rather than having to do it all over the computer. Our next question is, how difficult is it to work remotely if you're just starting out in tech? And I'm going to add a follow-up to this. What are your tips for those who want to start working remotely, as far as finding the jobs or being successful in that way.
I'll take it if it'd be the first. If Jade or Tina doesn't want to go.
Go after you.
Okay. Well, I was just say personally, I think it's a lot of roles that kind of are already set up to be remote. So they are, like I said earlier, I did some roles early on in my career where I was remote, but I was in a van driving around to sites. It was kind of remote and not sitting in the office every day. So there's roles like that. And then if you mean remote as in just working from home and working from home on your projects and things like that, then I think it's obviously with COVID, it's kind of become almost a default. And then it's really dependent on the company and how it works, how they operate. So if it's a company that kind of thrives on collaboration, in-person collaboration, where there's a meeting often, it'll be hard to convince them, let me work from home, since they seem to get more production or growth from people collaborating in the office. That was a big thing for my center. So my center has a lot of engineers on them. It's kind of hard for them to design, draw, and build things when they've got to send very large drawings over the internet. So they typically in our office print them out and stand at a conference room or drafting table and look at the drawings together and collaborate that way. It's really hard to do that when you are dispersed like that. So we had to bring people back in, and that was my job, bring them back into the office and facilitate that in the safest way. But like I say, some jobs, whether it's as Jay mentioned, there's data analytics roles, things like that, where you're working kind of in a solo capacity. You're working on projects individually and submitting that to a manager or through a process. So those roles can be remote, and it's really just up to the company if they want to allow that or not. So definitely reading through job descriptions and checking to see if that's an option is the way to go. But also kind of looking at the role and seeing, does this make sense to even consider as being remote? Because you may look at it and say, okay, it might be better if I was in the office to do this job. It's just my thought on it.
I like more of a hybrid schedule where you're partly remote and then go in site, because especially when you're new in your career, you don't know what conversations you can just have, like either going to your desk or in the hallway someplace. Job opportunities come up with that. It's another way to meet more people in the company who can vouch for you. That's another way to find a sponsor or a mentor. But at first it was difficult, because my first taste of working remote is when Louisville had to go fully remote. And to not be in place and to ask those questions, especially starting out, felt like I was alone learning it, even though I was on call with a group of people. Still not being in the same room and having ideas bounce off people was a little bit difficult. But my first rotation was on site, and this one is going to be more of a hybrid role, where I get to work from home or I can get to go in. But I like a hybrid schedule. I feel like that's better for your mental health, and I feel like that's better just to collaborate. And if you are working from home, some tips I would have is to find an area that you can just set up and just do for work, and then walk away from that area for a little bit throughout the day, and just have that separation between work and home, because that's still needed even if you are remote.
Yes, I would definitely echo what both Tina and Will said, because nowadays, tech used to be to where you could just be in a cubicle by yourself all day, not have to talk to anybody. And a lot of the time people would say that tech is really for people who are more so introverts. But nowadays, tech is more collaborative. People really work in teams. Of course, you're going to have that time where you're by yourself, heads down working. But a lot of the time you are working with the team. So I would definitely say it's a little challenging being remote when you are in tech, but at the same time you get that flexibility. So you just got to kind of weigh your pros and your cons with it.
Thank you all very much. And Our last question here in the chat. So if you have any more, please feel free to add it. What do you now? What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were first starting out?
The first thing that came to my head was you don't have to know everything. So something that I learned early on was that a lot of the time people just want to see that you have that initiative, you have that base knowledge in technology, and you are also able to learn, because in a lot of these jobs, you're going to have to learn how the company does it their way. So, you know, as long as you know that the basics of certain languages, the basics of data analytics, certain things like that, at least starting off, more than likely that's going to be sufficient for you to be successful at your job.
I would say don't be afraid to ask questions. Your code's going to break. It doesn't matter if you've been in the industry for 5 years to 30 years, you're going to write code that breaks. You're going to write code that looks perfect to you, to somebody else may not look so good. So just don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid when you get stuck. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be in this field. It just means you are a developer or whatever role that you are in. You're going to break things. You're going to fix them. You're going to break more things and fix more things. So just don't be afraid to fail is what I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think asking questions is, you know, early on I was like, okay, if I ask questions, it shows I'm ignorant on this, or I don't know this, that, and the other, or, you know, I'm bugging them is what I thought. But honestly, if you think about it, most people who enjoy something or are passionate about something, they love talking about it. So they don't mind showing you what they know, or coaching you up. And that's 9 times out of 10, you always have somebody that doesn't want to be asked questions, but it does show initiative. And you know, it's just a way of you learning and upgrading yourself within the companies that you're trying to be a part of. And to go along with that, I would say also early on, you know, you are the new person, so I feel like going, you know, taking a little extra steps, kind of being proactive, and kind of you know, you're going to be standing around a lot in some of these roles in a way, whether it's literally or or just figuratively standing around and outside looking in. I think it's a good thing to kind of show initiative in the fact that, you know, okay, I know we're going to do this 2 steps from here. So kind of jumping on that, or showing that you already have thought, you know, ahead, kind of gives you, I feel like people that are the managers or people that are training you, kind of shows them that you are thinking through it. So if I knew that early on, I would kind of apply that more, and just try to show that I was, you know, show more initiative. So I've learned that now, because it makes it look like to other people that I've got a grasp on things, and I've done my own studying and research and planned and came prepared. So that's a big thing, is coming prepared. So asking questions and doing things that can show that you came prepared are big things that I wish I knew early on.
All great suggestions. And I would encourage each of you to check the chat because our panelists are putting their LinkedIn, as well as some of our attendees are putting their LinkedIn in there. So great networking opportunity. And one last question that goes along with that. What are some good organizations to check out for people of color in technology?
Definitely the Microsoft Future of Work Initiative. You can reach us at futurelu.com. One of our main goals is to get people upskilled, especially Black and Brown people upskilled in data analytics, but we also have a variety of Microsoft courses on our website. So yeah, definitely us. Yeah, that's the first thing that I thought of.
I would definitely say Code Louisville. They helped me out a whole lot, and there's just various different backgrounds of people. So I would definitely recommend Code Louisville. And a lot of local companies look at Code Louisville grads when they that's something that they do consider when they're trying to hire people.
And just for the record, that was not a paid sponsorship.
Well, I actually was going to say the same thing. I feel like Tech Louisville, I'm actually a mentor in that program, and it's actually really good. It gives you what we've been talking about this whole time. It gives you direct access to a mentor to ask questions and kind of help you navigate through these. I enjoyed our last cohort where I was able to, give my story and then allow them to ask questions and kind of reach out with things that they had, where I could kind of, I don't want to say handhold, but kind of give them some more specifics. So, a lot of these groups are so big that you don't get that kind of intimate, personal information or guidance. And I feel like Tech Louisville is a good size, and the cohorts are a good size where you can reach out and say, I've got this going on, and ask a specific question, and you can kind of get a tailored answer instead of joining some massive group that's got thousands of people. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. They usually broadcast great resources there, but Tech Louisville is a good one because I just feel like it's a great size to kind of nurture that growth with individuals more so than some of the bigger groups. But again, don't shy away from those either.
Excellent. Excellent all around. Thank you all so very much. This has been a great panel. I've loved hearing each of you and your experience, and thank you again for sharing it. Thank you to our partners. I'm with Tech Louisville. Our sister program is Code Louisville. We have KentuckianaWorks, Future of Work Initiative, 502 program, lots of great companies here. I'm not going to mention names there. But yeah, great information, everyone. Thank you for being a part of this. We will send out a copy of the recording as soon as we can get it cleaned up, as well as links to the networking events that we were talking about a little bit earlier. And that's all from us for tonight. Hope you all had fun, and great to have you all here with us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good evening, and we will see you all next time.